Crucial Conversations, Tools for Talking When Stakes Are High, by Kerry Patterson, Joseph Grenny, McMillan, and Switzler. Introduction. Imagine a boardroom. The air is thick with tension. 8 vice presidents and their CEO, Chris, are deciding where to move the company headquarters. It's a multi-million-dollar decision that will affect thousands of employees. 2 executives have already presented their cases, and the room has picked their arguments apart with surgical precision. Then, the CEO speaks. Chris, the big boss, pitches his own preference: a move to his hometown. It's an unpopular idea, maybe even a disastrous one for the company. But when his team tries to push back, a subtle shift happens. Chris's eyebrow raises. His voice gets a little sharper. His power, though unspoken, fills the room like a cold fog. One by one, the VPs fall silent. The disastrous idea is about to be quietly accepted. Everyone in that room knows it's a mistake. They know they are being steamrolled. But they see only 2 options: speak up and make a powerful enemy, or stay silent and let the company walk off a cliff. It's a choice between your career and your conscience. And in that deafening silence, one man, a vice president named Kevin, takes a breath. Everyone freezes. He says, calmly, "Hey Chris, can I check something out with you?" For the next few minutes, Kevin does the impossible. He tells the CEO, in front of all his peers, that he is subtly using his power to force a bad decision. He does it without accusation, without anger, but with complete honesty and profound respect. The room holds its breath. Chris is quiet for a long moment. Then, he nods. "You're absolutely right," he says. "I've been trying to force my opinion on you. Let's back up and try again." That moment, that single conversation, didn't just change the company's future, it revealed a secret. A secret that a team of researchers, led by the authors of Crucial Conversations, had spent years searching for. They had studied over 20,000 of the most influential people in business and society, trying to figure out what made them different. And in that boardroom, they found it. It wasn't charisma, or intelligence, or power. It was the ability to handle moments just like this one. This book, which has sold millions of copies and transformed organizations from hospitals to nuclear power plants, isn't just about communication. It's about what happens in those defining moments that shape our careers, our relationships, and our lives. My promise to you today is that by the end of our time together, you'll understand the simple, powerful framework that people like Kevin use to navigate life's most difficult conversations. You'll learn the skill that allows you to be both 100% honest and 100% respectful, so you never again have to choose between telling the truth and keeping a friend. Book summary. Have you ever walked away from a conversation replaying it in your mind, thinking, "Why did I say that?" Or maybe, "Why didn't I say anything at all?" We've all been there. A discussion with a parent about your future. A talk with your partner about something that's been bothering you. A disagreement with a boss about a project. It starts out fine, but then something shifts. The stakes get high, opinions differ, and emotions start to run strong. Suddenly, you're not just talking anymore. You're in a crucial conversation. And here's the great, tragic irony of our lives: the more crucial the conversation, the less likely we are to handle it well. When it matters most, we are often at our absolute worst. Why does this happen? The authors tell us it's because we're not designed for this. When we feel threatened, our bodies flood with adrenaline. Our brains literally divert blood away from the parts responsible for clever, rational thought and send it to our arms and legs. We are biologically hardwired for fight or flight, for fists and feet, not for intelligent persuasion. We end up facing a complex social situation with the brain of a cornered animal. This leads us to what the authors call the fool's choice. We believe we have to choose between two terrible options. Option 1, speak the truth and shatter a relationship. Option 2, stay silent and keep the peace, while the problem festers. Tell your friend his new business idea is terrible, and he'll hate you. Say nothing, and watch him lose his life savings. Tell your partner their habit is driving you crazy, and start a huge fight. Say nothing, and let resentment build into a wall between you. We learn this choice from a young age. Grandma serves you her famous broccoli pie and asks, "Do you like it?" What she's really asking is, "Do you like me?" And when you answer honestly, you see the look of hurt on her face and you make a vow. From now on, I will choose between being kind and being honest. But the most effective people, the leaders and parents and partners who build lives of trust and success, they know a secret. They know the fool's choice is a myth. They've discovered a third path, a way to be both honest and respectful. This path is called dialogue. Dialogue, in this sense, isn't just talking. It's the free flow of meaning between two or more people. Imagine all the ideas, opinions, and feelings in a conversation forming a pool of water between you. We can call it the pool of shared meaning. Each person comes to the conversation with their own private knowledge and experiences. When the conversation feels safe, we freely add our meaning to the pool. When we do this, the pool expands. It gets deeper and clearer. And because we now have access to more accurate, more relevant information, we make far better decisions. This shared pool is the birthplace of synergy. The whole becomes greater than the sum of its parts. But when we feel unsafe, we do one of two things. We go to silence, withholding our meaning from the pool. This can look like masking using sarcasm or sugarcoating, avoiding changing the subject, or withdrawing, leaving the conversation entirely. Or, we go to violence, trying to force our meaning into the pool. This can look like controlling, cutting people off, labeling, stereotyping people or ideas, or attacking, making personal threats. Every time we find ourselves playing these games, it's because we've lost our way. We've forgotten the goal, which is to get to a place of mutual understanding and create the best possible outcome. The rest of this journey is about learning the 7 core skills that will help you stay on that path, to create dialogue even when everything inside you is screaming to fight or flee. And the first, most important principle is this: work on me first. You can't change other people. You can't force them into dialogue. The only person you can inspire, prod, and shape is the one you see in the mirror. The journey to a better conversation always begins with you. This leads us to the very first skill. Start with heart. Before a crucial conversation even begins, or the moment you feel it turning south, you must ask yourself a simple but profound question: what do I really want? Think about it. In the heat of the moment, our motives shift without us even realizing it. We start out wanting to solve a problem with our spouse, but 2 minutes in, all we want is to win the argument. We start out wanting to give a coworker helpful feedback, but as soon as they get defensive, our goal becomes proving them wrong or even making them feel bad. We lose sight of our long-term goals for short-term gratification. The authors tell a powerful story about a CEO named Greta who was leading a cost-cutting campaign. In a big meeting, a nervous manager stood up and pointed out that while Greta was asking everyone to use both sides of their paper, she was having a lavish new office built for herself. The room went silent. Greta felt attacked, her face flushed, and her first instinct was to strike back, to put this manager in his place. Her motive had instantly shifted from cutting costs to punishing the dissenter. But then, in that split second, she asked herself, what do I really want here? She realized her true goal wasn't to win this battle of egos. It was to get 200 managers to buy into her cost-saving initiative. And the biggest barrier to that was the perception that she was a hypocrite. The man who spoke up wasn't an enemy. He was her greatest ally. He had just handed her the opportunity to address the biggest unspoken concern in the room. Her entire demeanor changed. She thanked him for his courage. She admitted the hypocrisy and transparently addressed the issue. In that moment, she moved from a potential disaster to a profound moment of leadership. When you feel yourself slipping into silence or violence, stop. Ask yourself, what do I really want for myself? What do I really want for the other person? What do I really want for the relationship? And then, follow it with one more question. How would I behave if this is what I really wanted? This simple act of refocusing your heart isn't just a psychological trick, it's a physiological one. It shifts your brain from its primitive, reactive state to its higher-level, problem-solving state. It allows you to refuse the fool's choice. Instead of asking, "Should I be honest or kind?" you start asking a more intelligent question. How can I be honest and kind? How can I tell my friend my concerns and preserve our friendship? How can I talk to my boss about this issue and be seen as a loyal employee? This is the foundation. But having the right motive isn't enough. You also need to be able to see what's happening in the conversation, in real time. This brings us to the second principle. Learn to look. Skilled communicators are like experienced fishermen. A novice looks at a stream and just sees water. The expert sees the subtle ripple, the shadow beneath the surface, the exact spot where the fish is hiding. In a crucial conversation, most of us only see the content, the words being said. But the experts are dual processing. They are tracking two things at once: the content, the what, and the conditions, the how. The most important condition to look for is safety. Dialogue dies the moment people feel unsafe. If you can learn to spot the moment safety is at risk, you can step in and fix it before the damage is done. The authors make a radical claim. People almost never become defensive because of what you're saying. They become defensive because they don't feel safe. They believe you have a malicious intent or that you don't respect them. The problem isn't the content of your message, it's the condition of the conversation. So, what do you look for? You look for the early warning signs of silence and violence. Is someone starting to use sarcasm? That's masking. Are they changing the subject? That's avoiding. Are they speaking in absolutes or cutting you off? That's controlling. These aren't just annoying behaviors, they are bright, flashing signs that safety is at risk. And here's the hardest part. You have to learn to look at your own behavior. We are often the last to know when we've slipped into a destructive style. We raise our voice and shout, "I'm not angry," completely oblivious to the python-sized vein bulging on our forehead. To become better, you have to become a vigilant self-monitor. Ask yourself, what is my role in this? Am I falling into my own style under stress? Once you've learned to see that safety is at risk, you need to know what to do about it. And that is the third, and perhaps most powerful, principle: make it safe. When you see a conversation turning crucial and safety is disappearing, you have to do something that feels completely counterintuitive. You have to step out of the content of the argument, restore safety, and then step back in. There are two critical conditions for safety: mutual purpose and mutual respect. Mutual purpose is the entrance condition. Do others believe you care about their goals in this conversation? Do they trust your motives? If they think you're there to win, to push your own agenda, or to make them look bad, you'll never have dialogue. You have to find a shared goal. Mutual respect is the continuance condition. As long as it's there, you don't notice it, but the moment it's gone, it's all anyone can think about. Respect is like air. If people feel disrespected, the conversation is no longer about the original topic, it's about defending their dignity. So what do you do when one of these is violated? The authors give us three powerful tools. First, If you've done something to hurt or disrespect the other person, apologize. A sincere apology isn't about admitting you were wrong about the issue. It's about expressing sorrow for the pain or difficulty you've caused. It's about sacrificing your ego to rebuild the connection. Second, if others have misunderstood your intent, use contrasting. This is a brilliant don't/do statement. You first address the misunderstanding, the don't part, then you clarify your real intent, the do part. For example, imagine you're giving feedback to your assistant about being late. He looks crushed, thinking you're about to fire him. You could say, "I don't want you to think I'm dissatisfied with your work overall. I think you're a huge asset to the team. I do want to talk about this punctuality issue because it's important for our team's workflow." Contrasting isn't apologizing. It's not watering down your message. It's providing context so your message can be heard without defensiveness. Third, what if you're truly at cross purposes? What if you and your spouse have completely different ideas about a major life decision? You have to create a mutual purpose. The authors give us an acronym for this: CRIB. Commit to seek mutual purpose. Verbally commit to finding a solution that works for both of you. It seems like we're both trying to force our views. I commit to staying in this until we find a solution we're both happy with. Recognize the purpose behind the strategy. Ask, why do you want that? Separate their position from their underlying interest. You want to move to the city as a position. You want to be closer to cultural events and have a shorter commute as the interest. Once you understand the why, you can find new solutions. Invent a mutual purpose. If you still can't find a shared goal, move to a higher, more encompassing one. You might disagree on whether to take the promotion, but you can both agree that the well-being of the family is the most important thing. Brainstorm new strategies. Once you have a shared purpose, you can work together to find new options that meet everyone's needs. These skills, starting with heart, learning to look, and making it safe, are about preparing the ground for dialogue. But we still haven't talked about what's going on inside our own heads, in the moments we feel angry, scared, or hurt. This leads to the fourth principle: master my stories. The authors make another bold claim: others don't make you mad. You make you mad. Emotions aren't foisted upon you like a bad cold. You, and only you, create your own emotions. How? Through the stories you tell yourself. Between someone's action and your feeling, there's a cognitive step. You see something, you tell yourself a story about it, and then you feel an emotion based on that story. This is called the path to action. You see and hear something, you tell a story about it, you feel an emotion, you act on that emotion. For example, your friend walks past you without saying hello. That's a fact. You could tell yourself a story: he's mad at me. That story creates a feeling of hurt or anger. And you act by giving him the cold shoulder later. Or, you could tell a different story: he must have something heavy on his mind. That story creates a feeling of concern, and you might act by checking in on him. The same fact can lead to an infinite number of stories. And the stories we tell happen in a flash, so quickly we don't even realize we're doing it. The key to controlling our emotions is to take back control of our stories. The problem is, when we're under stress, we tend to tell ourselves what the authors call clever stories. These stories are clever because they justify our behavior and get us off the hook. There are three main types. 1. Victim stories. It's not my fault. We cast ourselves as the innocent sufferer. We exaggerate our own innocence and ignore the role we played in the problem. 2. Villain stories. It's all your fault. We turn the other person into a one-dimensional bad guy. We attribute the worst possible motives to them, which justifies our anger and aggression. We see their actions, but we invent their intent. 3. Helpless stories. There's nothing else I can do. We convince ourselves that there are no healthy options, which justifies our move to silence or violence. I had to yell, otherwise he wouldn't listen. So how do you break free from these clever stories? You have to tell the rest of the story. You do this by asking a few simple questions. To challenge a victim story, ask, what role am I playing in this problem? This turns you from a victim into an actor. To challenge a villain story, ask, why would a reasonable, rational, and decent person do this? This humanizes the other person and softens your judgment. To challenge a helpless story, ask, what do I really want, and what could I do right now to move toward that? This turns you from helpless to able and forces you out of a fool's choice. By mastering your stories, you are no longer a hostage to your emotions. You can choose how you feel, which means you can choose how you act. Now that your heart is in the right place, you can see what's happening, you know how to make it safe, and you've mastered your own emotions. It's finally time to open your mouth. This brings us to the fifth principle: state my path. How do you share sensitive, risky, or controversial ideas without making the other person defensive? You lead them down your path to action, starting with the least controversial parts first. STATE is an acronym for 5 skills. Share your facts. Start with what you saw and heard. Facts are the least controversial, least insulting, and most persuasive starting point. Don't start with you're a micromanager. Start with, in our last 3 meetings, you've checked in on my progress every 15 minutes. Tell your story. After the facts, explain the conclusion you're beginning to draw. This is where you share your interpretation, but you do it as a story, not as a fact. The story I'm starting to tell myself is that you may not trust me to get this done on my own. Ask for others' paths. Once you've shared your side, genuinely invite them to share theirs. Do you see it differently? I'd really like to hear your perspective. Talk tentatively. State your story as a story, not as an undeniable truth. Use phrases like "I'm beginning to wonder if," or "in my opinion." This shows humility and makes it safer for others to disagree. It's not about being wimpy, it's about being accurate. You don't know the whole truth. Encourage testing. Actively invite opposing views. What am I missing here? Or I'd really like to hear the other side of this story. The true test of your commitment to dialogue is how vigorously you encourage people to challenge your views. But what happens when the other person is the one who is angry or silent? What do you do when they blow up or clam up? This is where the 6th principle comes in. Explore others' paths. Your goal is to make it safe for them to retrace their path to action and get their meaning into the pool. To do this, you have to shift from being furious to being curious. When they attack, you have to wonder, why would a reasonable, rational, and decent person be saying this? You need to become a good listener. The authors offer another acronym for this: the Power Listening Tools of AMPP. Ask. Start by simply inviting them to talk. What's going on? I'd like to hear your concerns. Mirror. If they are hesitant, or if their words don't match their tone, reflect back their behavior. You say you're fine, but from the tone of your voice, you seem upset. This shows you're paying attention and that it's okay for them to have those feelings. Paraphrase. As they start to share their story, restate it in your own words. So, let me see if I have this right. You're feeling frustrated because you believe I'm not acknowledging the work you've put in. This shows you're listening and trying to understand. Prime. If they're still stuck, you may need to prime the pump. Take your best guess at what they're thinking or feeling. Are you feeling like I'm questioning your competence on this project? This can feel risky, but sometimes it's the only way to get the conversation flowing. As you listen and begin to understand their path, you'll need to respond. The authors give us our ABCs. Agree. When you agree with what they've said, say so. Don't turn an agreement into an argument by focusing on a trivial point of disagreement. Build. If they've left something out, Agree with what they said and then add your perspective. Absolutely. And in addition to that, I've noticed. Compare. When you do disagree, don't say, "You're wrong." Instead, compare your two paths. "I think I see things a little differently. Let me explain." Then use your state skills to walk them through your path. Finally, after all this work, after creating safety, sharing meaning, and exploring different paths, you've reached a point of understanding. You've filled the pool. But all that work is for nothing if it doesn't lead to action. This is the seventh and final principle: move to action. Dialogue is not decision-making. Just because everyone got to share their meaning doesn't mean everyone gets a vote. To avoid confusion and frustration, you must decide how you're going to decide. There are 4 common methods. 1. Command. Decisions are made without involving others. This is for situations where an outside force dictates the decision, or when you delegate to a trusted expert. 2. Consult. You gather input from others, but the final decision is made by a smaller group or an individual. 3. Vote. You use this when you have a number of good options and efficiency is key. 4. Consensus. You talk until everyone genuinely agrees on a single decision. This is for high-stakes, complex issues where everyone's commitment is essential. Clarifying the decision-making method up front prevents hurt feelings and violated expectations. Once a decision is made, you have to translate it into action. To do this, you must clarify 4 things. Who? Assign each task to a specific person. There is no we. We is code for not me. Does what? Be crystal clear about the deliverables. By when? Deadlines are not negotiable. Goals without deadlines are just directions. How will you follow up? Agree on a method and time to check in on progress. By putting these simple disciplines in place, you ensure that all the hard work you did to create dialogue actually leads to meaningful results. You turn your crucial conversation into a crucial outcome. Commentary. When you step back and look at the framework of crucial conversations, you realize something profound. This isn't just a collection of clever communication tips. It's a philosophy for how to approach life's most challenging moments with courage, humility, and skill. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the idea of work on me first. In a world that so often encourages us to blame others, to point fingers, and to see ourselves as victims of circumstance, this book gently but firmly places the power and the responsibility back in our own hands. It teaches us that the first step to changing a conversation, a relationship, or an organization is to change ourselves. It's the humbling recognition that our own stories, our own fears, and our own unskilled behaviors are often the biggest obstacles to getting what we truly want. What makes this book so timeless is that it addresses the fundamental human struggle between truth and connection. We are wired to seek both, yet we so often believe they are mutually exclusive. Crucial Conversations gives us a practical, step-by-step method for pursuing both simultaneously. It's a roadmap for speaking your truth in a way that deepens relationships rather than destroys them. So, how can you start applying these ideas today? It can feel overwhelming, but the authors themselves suggest that a little progress goes a long way. Here are 3 simple actions you can take this week. First, just learn to look. For the next 7 days, make it your mission to simply notice when a conversation turns crucial. Don't worry about fixing it or using the right skills. Just ask yourself, are we in dialogue, or have we slipped into silence or violence? This simple act of awareness is the first and most powerful lever of change. Second, identify one of your clever stories. Think about a recurring conflict in your life, with a parent, a friend, a teacher. What's the story you tell yourself? Are you the innocent victim? Is the other person an unreasonable villain? Are you completely helpless to change the situation? Just seeing that story for what it is, an incomplete interpretation, not a fact, can begin to loosen its grip on you. Third, practice one skill in a low-stakes conversation. The next time you have a small disagreement, try one thing. Maybe you'll start with the facts instead of your conclusions. Maybe you'll try a contrasting statement to prevent a misunderstanding. Or maybe you'll just get genuinely curious and ask, "Help me understand your perspective." Small wins build confidence. That was a summary of Crucial Conversations by Kerry Patterson, Joseph Grenny, Ron McMillan, and Al Switzler. We've walked through the core principles today, but I'll be honest with you, a summary is like looking at a map of a beautiful country. The real magic happens when you travel there yourself. It's in the quiet moments of reading when a particular story or a simple phrase connects with your own life in a way you didn't expect. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book is worth your time and attention. If anything we've talked about today has sparked a sense of hope or curiosity in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning techniques, it's an experience that can genuinely change how you navigate the moments that matter most. The link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to click that like button and subscribe to the channel. It lets me know that this work is making a difference, and it ensures you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.